The IGP leaked tape saga, or the leaked IGP tape saga. Lawyers for the IGP and chairman of the committee, the Honorable Samuel Atachia, have been crossing paths. They accuse the chairman of bias against the IGP. Chairman says the issue of bias is being withdrawn. The IGP's team also says no such withdrawal has been made, and I've put him to strict proof. A member of the IGP's council, Kofi Bentil, is with me tonight in studio. I'm going to go into the mind of the IGP and his team to see what they make of all this process. Kofi, welcome to Point Blank.
Thank you.
It's been a while. We see you do a lot of things, civil society, law, etc. It must be quite an engaging period for you.
For God and country, we have to do what we can before we pop off.
I see. So yeah, civil society, and quite a number of persons have been following the work of this IGP quite closely, and so all of a sudden we heard of the leak tape. We listened to the content of it in most parts, and quite explosive things being said about the IGP by his own men or some members of his own, management, to a political bigwig, Brugin Abu, former chairman of the Northern Region, the MPP in the Northern Region. And key amongst the things that were said was that the IGP would not help them win election. The IGP was not good enough, etc. And so he should be removed. If he's not removed, then they cannot break the aid. They cite what happened in Kumawu and said that if things do not change, they were going to lose Asinoff as well. Things didn't change, they lost Asinoff. Somebody raises the matter in Parliament, Emmanuel Amakofibua, now Speaker says, let's set up a committee to look into the matter. First of all, what's your thinking around the constitution of a committee to probe this matter of the leak tape?
Oh, thank you. Let's start by clearing the premise you laid. You said, some of his own men and his management are complaining about him. The Ghana police today is made up of over 50,000 people. And you should take note of the fact that in all the sittings that the IGP has been invited to, POMAB has been with him. All the, big wigs and all the management personnel there have gone with him. Indeed, in the last in-camera hearing, the chairman asked that they excuse themselves, and they respectfully did so. So it's not true. When you give the impression that his men are against him. If you run any organization of 50,000 people spread around every district in this country, and you are the head of administration and operations and doing all the things you are doing, and you can see this IGP is a hands-on IGP, there will absolutely be some people who have a problem with you. One of the things that this so-called probe is bringing up is that even under this level of scrutiny, we can't find any serious allegation against the IGP. So first, let's deal with the fact that if you have 3 policemen, one of whom is retiring, who come and complain that he wants to be IGP, clearly he's telling you what his ambitions are. And he makes it clear that his ambitions are not honorable because he thinks that he should be made IGP so he can do things that are not in the interest of the country.
That's an inference you make from it.
It's not an inference. I'm talking about what he said.
But he didn't say that his interests are not honorable.
No, look. The man says the current IGP will not do things that will help you to win the election, and that put me there so I would help you to win the election. Is that in the interest of the country? So I'm saying let's be clear about it and not mince words about the fact that somebody who thinks that his ambition is to do something to favor one political party is not an honorable person. Now, if you see, you should define a man by the enemies he makes. If this is the kind of person who wants to replace our IGP, we should be happy we have this man in office as IGP. So let's clear this first part where you think that there are people complaining about it. No, that's not the truth. There are people with dishonorable intentions trying to get into those positions, so they will do things which are not in the national interest. And when he cites what happened in Kumewu, Kumewu was a positive. You had for the fact, you didn't see military people running around in Kumewu. The security situation was sound. The IGP was there himself. All right. How is that a negative? So, we should situate these things in the proper context. Okay. So these people go and they are gossiping and they are talking about trying to become IGP through irregular means. They are the people who should be accused.
What do you mean by irregular means? Because he makes the point at the meeting that, COP Mensa in this case, that lobbying for a position is not bad. And indeed, lobbying is not bad. Politicians lobby,
Absolutely.
a lot of people lobby. So if he is lobbying to be the IGP, I don't think there should be anything wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with lobbying. It is irregular if you are a COP and you want to be a policeman. For you not to show in your performance and bring yourself to the notice of the appointing authority properly through merit that you are worth being appointed as IGP. But you go through some party chairman.
It's an appointment by a party leader, the president.
No. And, honestly, I can understand, where journalists will try to push the limits. But we should try and be clear and straightforward about this. There's no problem seeking the help of a friend or whatever it is. But I'm saying it is irregular for you not to use the police system, not to try and get promotion by merit, but to use some outside the system arrangements and say, because I can help you win the election against the person by using state institutions like the police, okay, get me to go and see somebody so we can knock out an IGP who is performing absolutely fantastic. Okay, that is irregular. We want people to gain their positions by merit. Let us not make excuses for these people who have advertised that they are not fit for their office. By his own utterances, he should never be put anywhere near the position of IGP. And that is clear.
I see. So now we had a committee start work. I mean, we saw the things which were said in the first few days. Eventually, it so happened that the IGP had to be invited. Originally or initially, he was not part of the list. But because his name had come up and allegations had been made against him, it was thought fair that he would come and deliver. Indeed, he did come. He spoke well. People thought he had done a good job, etc. And then in their conversation, some of his colleagues said they had things against him that they did not want to say on record. In fact, in some of the cases, they hesitated. And so the committee told them that they would take those pieces of evidence in camera. You have been to the in-camera hearings. But before we come to the in-camera hearings, what was a general assessment of how the IGP dealt with the matters and whether indeed, the matters that were brought against him were properly cleared out?
As lawyer for the IGP, it is my view that indeed no serious allegation has been made against the IGP. We all saw when he was put on full blast in the public and the questions that were asked. I am not sure anybody heard anything that constituted a serious allegation against the head of operations and administration of the Ghana Police Service, a person who runs all this arrangement together with his management board, over 50,000 people in every district. If you do any kind of serious check on anybody on that level, there will be one or two things that you may find which you may have to answer to. And given that opportunity, we have not heard anything, whether in camera or in public, that constitutes a significant issue for which, the IGP should be hauled back and forth. But note something. This went to Parliament and Parliament set up this committee. We all have to respect state institutions. So no matter what I think, once Parliament calls you and says come, you go. And that's why the IGP went and has been happy to go every time. In fact, the last time he was not too well. He went sat there because the previous one he couldn't make it. He didn't want a situation where it looked like he wasn't coming. So he insisted on going and asking for permission. And he did. In fact, after he asked, the chairman said, you should have told me earlier and that kind of thing. But that's the nature of the person. He says, I want to be there and I want to ask for permission myself. So the thing is, we haven't seen any serious allegation. But everything that has been said has been heard. And as far as we are concerned, there is none. Whether in camera or out. But that is the work of the committee. We believe that if they are looking at just the facts and the evidence, our client will absolutely be vindicated.
So in the IGP's responses, etc., I got a feeling that he felt that the ambit or the scope or the TOR of the committee was being extended beyond what it was. But why does the team have that impression of the work of the committee?
Again, it's not a matter of opinion. So it is the Speaker of Parliament who set up this thing. And the Speaker of Parliament set it up and said that do A, B, C, and D. All right. And this A, B, C, and D were written down. If you look at what they were given in terms of the remit of this committee, generally it was not generally. This is what it was. They should ascertain the veracity of the tape, as in whether the tape is correct, true, or not. Investigate the conspiracy to remove the IGP. That makes the people who were engaged in the conspiracy the targets. They are the people who should be accused. Okay, they should be investigated, not the IGP. And then investigate any other matter contained on the tape. That is with reference to the tape. The tape is your limiting factor. Okay, and then recommend sanctions and make recommendations for reforms where needed and consequential orders. What you need to know is that there is no stretch of interpretation that says that something that has to be limited to a tape should be expanded into a full-blown probe of the IGP and the police administration. This is a tape. It's a historical fact of what happened. Somebody taped something. And the Speaker of Parliament is saying, go and look at this tape and let me know whether there are any other issues coming out of it. Now, the first three are the big issues. Ascertain the veracity of the tape. Is it a genuine tape? Is it a fake? Is it this or that? And it is interesting that it was very, very easy to ascertain. Chief Bukri Nabu came and said, I recorded the tape. I found what these people were saying to be terrible, preposterous, and I wanted to put them on record. So I recorded the tape. Now, if you are the chairman who has been sent to go and find what happened, what is your bone in this thing?
So it means that the point one of the TOR was resolved.
It has been resolved. And unfortunately, after it being resolved, the chairman comes up and says, oh, no, there are two tapes. And the tape was doctored.
No, but if indeed, in the course of the investigation, I mean, another tape pops up, it's within his remit to investigate or to inquire about that particular tape.
It is within his remit to investigate. It is not within his remit to make statements about things that have not been investigated. Okay, you had a tape, and then there was a longer version of the tape that was produced without anybody hearing it, without it being investigated, without any forensic work being done about it. The chairman, who has no special abilities to determine what is a fault tape or not, just goes out and is reported to have said that the tape is doctored. This is against the background of the person who recorded the tape saying, I recorded the tape. It is not doctored. And keeps insisting. And it turns out that it is just the short version and the long version. When you do a long recording, most of the things will not be relevant. Okay, when you say doctored, it means edited with nefarious intent. Somebody has taken things out and put something in with an intent to change the narrative. So you use those words carefully, especially when you're the chairman of a committee that is fact-finding, seeking truth.
So will you describe that as the inappropriate use of words or bias? Because your claim against him is that he's demonstrated bias against your client, the IGP. That's quite a very huge claim to make against the chairman of such an important committee.
Look, we are not just talking opinion. We are basing what we've said on conduct. One of the conduct is that you call a tape you have not reviewed doctored. You give it a certain kind of negative, tinge. All right. And you had a situation where, I mean, a number of things happen which are irregular as far as this kind of parliamentary arrangement goes. First, you remember that when our senior counsel, Lawyer Kwame Jan, first went there, he spoke about the irregularity of having certain people in the room. If you go to court, and by the way, Parliament has rules. They do things under very, very extensive rules. And the speaker who gave the instruction for this work to be done is a master of parliamentary rules, and he knows exactly what he set, out to achieve. Now, if you have this situation, and our lawyer says, well, the proper thing would be to clear the place because a witness cannot be sitting down here looking at this other person. If you go to court, these things are done. The chairman just says no, he's going to go ahead anyhow. And he went ahead.
So
we gave him
answering
your question.
Yes.
We gave him the benefit of the doubt in that situation. Subsequently, you have a situation where people have presented evidence. Okay. And then you say, okay, can you bring me more evidence? All right. And whatever the nature of the evidence is. We are like, no, you have a limit. And you cannot make this a full-blown, probe of the whole Ghana police. But it says, well, I'm still open to taking whatever evidence can come. At the last but one meeting, whatever evidence had been produced, they were supposed to corroborate it, come and substantiate it. Nothing like that happened. They actually rather changed some aspects of the testimony they had given earlier. And at the end of that sitting, the chairman says, well, come back tomorrow, and if you have any further evidence, please bring it again. And we are like, this process does not look normal, because if the people for months have given you a set of evidences, and today you have gone through them and more or less you have exhausted what you need to do with them, you can close. But why do you ask them to come back in 24 hours and bring you new evidence?
But if they say that they have some evidence they're trying to get their hands on or they're trying to retrieve, you should give them time to do that.
They haven't said that.
They've not said that.
No.
So the chairman on his own said, okay, you guys go bring me more evidence. Just go bring me more evidence without the asking.
Yes. Yes. And that's strange. So my senior counsel says that, well, for us to come back here and just listen to whether there will be new evidence or not may not be the best. So please, can you just let them give you whatever evidence? In any case, that itself is irregular. All right. Look, like I said, it's about historical fact-finding. There's a tape, and you're supposed to be checking what's on the tape. It is not about any new thing that has happened.
Because in the committee hearing, the public one, what we know is that, of course, the guy said the IGP orchestrated a recording of
Who said?
I think it was ECOP Mensa, one of them said that the IGP, sorry, not the IGP, the IGP actually orchestrated a recording, and so they had evidence to prove that.
Good. So he was supposed to bring that evidence.
Yeah, so the thinking is that when you go into the in-camera hearings, that evidence was going to be available. Are you saying that when you guys went in camera, nothing of that nature surfaced?
Nothing.
So what did they say about the claim that
I'm
the
not
IGP...
going to divulge everything that was said. The committee will bring the report, but these ones I can tell you. Nothing. And you are right. When somebody says, oh, I believe this, or I know this happened, he's supposed to bring the evidence. He didn't. And why would you take the word of the person who is affected when he says something like this, and then he brings you no evidence? And then on the day he brings you no evidence to that effect, you tell him that, oh, go back and see whether you find new evidence and bring it. We thought that was irregular. And we said, fine, no problem, you take it. But why do we have to gather here to see whether there's new evidence or not? So let him bring you whatever evidence it is. If you need to call us back, call us back. All right? We go back the next day. No new evidence was produced.
Yeah, so
point I'm making, you asked the question about why we have a problem with some of the things that the chairman has done. And the point we're making is that some of these things create cause for, alarm. We as counsel have to protect our client, but our client has made it clear that he has nothing to hide. But we also have to be minded that there has to be procedural justice in all of this. From day one, when my senior counsel raised it and it was brushed off, subsequently there have been a number of things. Now, if even you put our view as lawyers aside, as we speak, put any 10 people together and ask them what they think is going on. And you would get a certain answer consistently that it seems or looks like something being cooked, to come knock off the IGP. All right. I'm not saying that is true or not, but that is what it looks like. Okay. And it's not coming from me. Many people seem to have that view. All right. You have a situation where this is not a sole commissioner. The chairman is not a sole commissioner. It's a very different kind of animal if you have a sole commissioner who is working on a certain... This is a parliamentary committee subject to parliamentary rules. There is a deputy there, chairperson there. Okay. There were situations where the deputy chairperson had so many disagreements, he had to walk out. He felt
in
that...
In the in-camera?
Yes.
So the deputy chair walked out?
Yes. That's on news. It's public knowledge. Okay. So that gives you another, kind of... it gives you another idea that we are not the only people complaining. Okay. Chief Bugri Nabu consistently maintained that, look, I recorded this thing and there has been no doctoring. It was at the last sitting that Chief Bugri Nabu insisted. And then after much back and forth, it was admitted that, okay, there has been no doctoring. Why was it necessary to do that? You have to take the word of the person, the evidence of the person, and then let's move with it. And I can report to you, because CSO leaders in this country have been alarmed about it, knowing what has happened in our recent history with people like Domilovo and Co., okay, who after the fact, I and a couple of people ran to the courts, okay. After 2 years, it was found that what the president did was wrong, but the damage had been done. I can tell you CSO leaders were alarmed at what was going on. They sought audience with the Speaker of Parliament, and they've gone to see the Speaker of Parliament to, let him know that, well, you set this thing up, and we are not sure whether everything is okay. And the Speaker of Parliament has assured them that nothing untoward will happen because he set it up. It is his committee. He will make sure that this is not used for any nefarious activity. The point I'm making is that we are not the only people complaining that something is going wrong, all right? And who is creating this problem? Who is making people feel that something is about to go wrong? And that is why we make the statement that the conduct, the utterances of the chairman are not proper. And we have said that we think it puts him in the place where we can describe him as biased. We stand by that statement. We have not withdrawn it. We are waiting to see how things will turn out, and then we will be able to know whether it has affected the outcome, because he's not the only person on the committee. But we maintain our position that per his utterances, per his actions, we are not confident in him. We think they are biased. We think it is not necessary for him to take those lines. Okay, I mean, at the end of the day, he should be finding fact. As we speak, it clearly looks as if he has turned the victim of the conspiracy, which is the IGP, into the accused person. And he's questioning the IGP on behalf of the police officers, some of whom are the IGP's juniors. Note that the police service has elaborate systems. Even if these things have happened, the police service has systems for complaining, for raising queries, and all those things. And some of these questions do not have to be answered by the IGP as a person. They should be answered by Police Management Board. All right? So this whole thing, which looks like it is the IGP who is on trial, it is his administration who is on trial, that is on trial. It is what is going on under him that is on trial. Where does it come from? It doesn't come from the minority on the panel. It doesn't come from the lawyers. And what is the general public seeing? I am comforted that the Speaker has the final word in all of these things. But we maintain that the posture of the chairman is not proper.
I see. This is the point of view. My guest is Kofi Bentil, is lawyer for the IGP. Their concern is that, or they have accused the chairman of the Parliamentary Committee probing the leak tape saga of bias against the IGP. They feel, as he just said, that the victim has rather become the accused, and that they find quite disconcerting. So Kofi, what's the thinking of your client? Of course, you speak the mind of your client, but does he think that the goings on could lead to he being ousted at some point, in the process?
We lawyers don't pretend to read minds. We get instructions, and our client's instructions are that we should cooperate with the committee to the fullest extent, and that's what we are doing. There are fights we would have liked to fight on procedure, etc., but he has told us plain that he doesn't want a situation where it looks like we are running away or he has something to hide. So those are his instructions, all right? And he has made it clear that he is there to do his work and will continue to do his work to the last day. All right. I mean, when you get people like IGP Dampare, you should know that on a personal level, it is not a problem for them. When we drove out Mr. Domilovo, he ended up getting a bigger job. Okay. So it is in the national interest that we keep people like Dampare. And I'm not just, hero worshipping him. We all see the difference that has been made. Okay. So in terms of he himself, what he is interested in is answering every question. And incidentally, no serious question has arisen that goes to the root of what he's doing. Note something. Even if somebody said, he recorded the message. Note something, just for the sake of argument. Even if the IGP recorded the message or the interaction, look, an IGP should have the necessary wherewithal, with all his intelligence and whatever, to record everybody in this country. It is part of his job. And then decide how he's going to use it. What is the intelligence systems for? What are CID investigations and whatever? What are they for? Cyber crime unit and whatever. They
Even
have
if it's
the
a private conversation.
Yes. Look, in this country, the law allows you to commit a crime, okay, to expose another crime. All right? And the IGP has a relevant duty to make sure that he knows what is going on. I'm not saying you should breach people's privacy. I'm a lawyer. You know what I do. I would never agree to that. But I'm saying, in the interest of national security, for the person in charge of internal security to have the capability to record people when they didn't know, is not a crime. It is how he uses that. The point I'm making is that no serious question has arisen that challenges the competence of this IGP or his methods or whatever it is. If all you are saying is that he engineered the recording, why is it a problem? What is the problem about it? You understand? So he is interested in answering every question because indeed I believe he has answers for every question.
So clearly, from everything you've been saying, you don't seem to think that the committee was a necessary thing to be set up at all, because there was really no question to be answered. So all the matters that were raised should have been just brushed aside, so we continue with our lives.
No, I said and I repeat, even if I don't think the issue was a serious enough issue, and I'm not alone in that, as long as Parliament calls you, you go. As long as the issue rises to that level and the Speaker sets up a parliamentary committee, whatever you think, you go. That's why we've been going every day. So I agree with those who believe that if you compare this, for instance, to the Sherman killings, the Sherman killings were more important, and maybe Parliament should have taken a better look at that. Okay. But they decided to do
But
this.
maybe because matters of election, breaking the eight, etc., came in, I mean, that alarmed a lot more people. It got a lot more people talking about it for days, especially as the video or the audio was readily available everywhere. So it got a lot more people talking about it, and politicians, MPs, etc., being who they are, got interested because of the election bit.
I totally agree with you.
So the
And I'm
matter was
saying
escalated.
they have a right to do that. Whether I agree or disagree, once Parliament says, come and sit down and let me ask you questions, you have to respect them. And that is why we have been instructed by the IGP that even though there are procedural lapses and things, we should make sure we go and answer all the questions. So, absolutely, it is necessary.
So what was the next step in the process? The committee hearing, the in-camera hearings have been done. Is that concluded, or what happens? Have we been given a date where the report will be out or the report will be submitted to the Speaker? Why are we in the process?
Well, we're supposed to have a week-long session of sittings. We went for the first day. They were supposed to bring the evidence to back some of the sessions they made. For instance, that IGP recorded the thing. They brought no evidence on the first day this week.
So because the COP in one of the interviews, he was walking out and the journalist chased him he said he had a lot of evidence. So is it a case that what he presented, in your view, did not have the requisite probative value to pin down your client, or they presented nothing at all?
Listen to me. The first day we went there, they did not present any evidence to back any of the accusations they had made. What happened was they amended some of their statements that they had earlier made.
Okay.
All right. So no new evidence was presented. Okay. That is on record. Second day, we were told they would come back, and if there was any new evidence they had, they would present it. And again, I'm not going into the details, but I can say no new evidence was presented on the second day. They said they didn't have anything new. However, COP presented a sealed and written statement. Okay, so we don't know what is in it.
Sealed and, okay, so addressed to the committee.
Addressed to the committee. Now, if it is the nature of evidence, we will be made aware of it so we can respond to it. That is all that happened. So that was handed to the chairman. He will go and review it and see whether it has probative value, whether it's necessary, whether it's admissible, whether he should bring it to our notice or not. And if he decides to bring it to our notice, he will bring it to our notice. We'll also do what we need to do and answer to that. That is what happened on the second day. It was a very short hearing. We dispersed. Now we are waiting to hear from the chairman. If he calls us back, our instruction is to go back. If he asks us questions, our instruction is to answer them. If there is evidence, he has to give it to us. We have to look at it, and we have to prepare and come and respond to it. We still insist that we are not happy with the way he's conducting things. But if he calls us, we will go. If he asks us questions, we will give him answers. But he has to also follow the proper procedure. So right now, we are waiting for him. Otherwise, as far as we are concerned, the remit of this committee has been fully met. He can write his report and send it to the Speaker. The Speaker will look at it and see whether what he sent them to do is what they have done, and then decide what he's going to do with it.
Very well. Kofi Bentil, thanks so much. Kofi Bentil is lawyer for the IGP, member of his legal team.